Welcome to the Build Business Acumen podcast, where we deliver practical knowledge and powerful guidance.
But this week was literally crazy. I had a week of internet woes and unexpected triumphs because I focused on what I thought I could do about the problem. The problems that I was facing would have stressed me out beyond measure a few months ago, a few weeks ago even. I had a very frustrating situation with the internet. It went out 3 times in the last 2 weeks. The first week, it took 5 days to recover the internet. It was a cabled internet connection. And the construction workers, in their wisdom, had cut the cable. They'd severed it. So I contacted the phone company and went through a whole nightmare. This happened 2 weeks ago, which lasted a week. And then about 3 days ago, it actually happened again. So I'd had enough by this point. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to change my connection. I'm going to try a different route. So I decided I was going to get a new router and different connection. So I got this connection, and then I managed to go to jujitsu. I went to jujitsu, a fantastic training up until the point where someone kneed me in the eyeball. So my eye didn't hurt that much at the time. Then obviously the adrenaline had worn off, and anyone that's trained martial arts and worked out that the adrenaline hides a lot of pain, and it keeps you from actually falling to pieces on the spot. So I went out of the room, washed my eye, went back, finished the round that I was doing, and then I went home, and literally my eye was really very, very sore. At one point I had to slow down quite a bit because it really hurt, and the pain lingered for a whole afternoon yesterday and evening. So I basically decided, you know what, I'm going to just stay in bed. And I basically stayed in bed all afternoon, yesterday afternoon, with limited vision, with an eye that felt like it had sand in it for the whole afternoon. I woke up in the middle of the night, it was the same. And I prayed, and thankfully I woke up this morning, it was a bit better. Got out of bed, it was a bit better, washed it with some water, and thank God now my eye is better. It's good enough for me to deliver what I do every week, which is my newsletter. I'm at 138 revisions of that newsletter. Obviously missed a few maybe occasionally, but we're still at 138. And this wasn't the most productive way to spend the afternoon. However, I learned a lot from that experience. I learned a lot about pain, about, what I did wrong to get the knee in the eye, and I won't be doing it again, because failure is not an option. We have to use these setbacks to understand the real lessons that are there, and nothing is a failure. There's always a lesson that we obtain from this. So I then somehow last night I managed to, strangely enough, shut the window in my lounge. I had my great super fast internet connection, shut the window, and managed to sever my own internet connection, which was extremely annoying. So I was like, oh dear. And then I looked around my home, and I was like, I'm sure I've got one of these connections somewhere. I must have one of these. But you know what? Because it's super low voltage, I didn't have one. So I thought about it, and I was like, I think I can fix this. So I decided, you know what? My eye was better this morning, so I didn't have blurry vision. I put my sunglasses on, and I went out, and I went to my local DIY store, 14 minutes away. Drove there quite happily. I basically got there, and I stood there thinking about what I was going to do with this cable and how I was going to connect it, because you do have options. There are four different options, but I'm not going to bore you with the details. So I chose the right option, and bought a few bits and pieces. Got a loyalty card because it enabled me to a discount on everything. I spent like €11. Fantastic. Got loads of snacks and whatever, a few bits and pieces, plus these connector blocks that I decided I was going to use. And I learned about how to reconnect a cable safely without burning your house down. So I couldn't believe it. So then I was like, well, actually, while I'm here, I'm going to wash the car because there's a car wash there. So I washed the car, came back, fixed my internet connection. And now, and my eye is a lot better. So it's a little bit tired because I've been looking at a screen for too long. But I've turned the color down on the monitor, turn the brightness down, and I feel a lot better. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna use this situation from this last week, which frankly is the worst week I've had for ages, and I'm going to use it for a positive, because you have to take positives about everything that you do, and otherwise you're never going to reach success, right? So now, thank God, I have a working internet connection that is 3 times faster than before. I've gained some valuable new skills in electrical repairs, which is great. My eye is almost healed perfectly, so hopefully tomorrow I can go roll in jujitsu. Plus, I've learned a valuable lesson about router placement. Maybe keep it away from potential hazards like the window when you close it in future. Now I have a really, really great talk that I did with Stephen J. Manning, who you will probably know of by now, about success. Failure is not an option here. So please do take the time to listen to the next 20 minutes of Stephen and I talking, mostly actually him talking. And I hope you really enjoy it, and looking forward to the next challenges of the next few days and the next few weeks, months, everything else, because you know what? Life sometimes has ups and downs, and it's how we actually accept these ups and downs that defines us as individuals. And I want to give a big thanks to Eric because he gave me a toolkit a few years ago, and I have finally managed to be able to have the skills to take the little plastic sleeve off a cable without breaking the cable, cutting the cable, because otherwise you can't connect them again. And I've managed to do that with my blurry vision, without actually damaging the cable. So thanks for listening, and do go on to check out this expert talk. It should be fun. It should be good. You're going to enjoy it. I just listened to it and it reminded me about failure. It's not the finale. It's the pivot. So take your time to listen to it. And also, I will drop a link for Stephen's new book, which you should go and buy. And if you're on Audible, you should go and listen to that. So thank you so much once again. Appreciate all your support here. And I'm going to try to introduce more of these talks over the coming weeks and months. But obviously, with the summer season coming along here in Croatia, my daughter's coming to stay for a month. I will be out of action. So I'm trying to just load up the system with a load of these talks, so you're not going to be bored over the summer. Thank you very much again for listening and supporting me. Wow. Well, I am very privileged today to be joined by Stephen J. Manning, and we are going to be talking about failure today. And it's a fundamental part of life. Learning from failure it just happens. I mean, and what I have found in sports, in life in general, there's always a lesson to be learned from failing. And at the time, it's extremely painful and it really, really does hurt. But I personally believe that the lessons that you learn from failure are way more powerful than learning from someone else's lessons, in my personal opinion. And unfortunately, I mean, I'm nearly 50 years old now, and in a few years I'll be 50. And to be honest, I wish I'd have started learning from other people's failures when I was 25, because it would have been far less painful. But I don't think the imprint from other people's failures, unless you're really educated, harshly by those people, and they put you through the pain that they went through when they failed, it's going to do you as good, to be honest. So, what do you think, Stephen, on this?
Hi, Nathaniel. Um, Good being with you again
Always a
on what is a
pleasure.
very challenging topic.
It is.
It's interesting when you have two humbly, relatively successful folks like you and me. We're talking about failure, which is ever present in our lives. And one of the things you said, and you allow me this because there are a lot. Look, there are 20,000 books out there on success and failure and learning from failure. And my thought about those books, by the way, is I'm a little jaundiced about some of that because I believe that you and I write some really, really meaningful stuff. There's so much out there about people who tell you how to behave, what to do, what not to do, and a positive thinking. You want to avoid failure? It's all about positive thinking, really. And then some of them and big names, you just think positively, clench your fists, and you think and you push through, and you're going to be taller and better looking and richer. And as I laugh about it, I say, you know what? Why don't you go out in the backyard and then close your eyes real tight and visualize that the lawn it's mowing itself. That'll work out. Now, anybody who has bought more than one of those books, and mind you, some of those people who write that stuff are very, very good at it. They're good at it. That doesn't mean they're really good about teaching you how to do it. If you bought a couple of those books, you might want to get a refund. But I would love to share, I think, two or three quotes because, I was thinking about this today. And you said, people fail at what? Business. The people fail at life. People fail at life issues, not entirely life, but life issues. In sports, you and I relate to sports. You and I relate to business and all of that. So I said, there are some really, really smart people. Talk about athletes. Michael Jordan, without a doubt, one of the greatest athletes in history. Here's a quote from Michael Jordan. Now, he's not exactly an academic or a philosopher. He does have a couple $1 billion and an amazing history behind him. It's a quote from Michael Jordan. I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something, but I cannot accept not trying. Okay? Another sportsman, Bruce Lee. You, more than most people, you know Bruce Lee, you know what he's done and why, because those of you who are listening to this, my colleague Nathaniel is a truly class jujitsu guy. He's a martial artist, period. Bruce Lee. Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. Now, and then there's failure in the social world, in political world. One of my favorites, Winston Churchill. And here's something that you and I can talk about forever. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Okay? And of course, then there's some beautiful words spoken like Maya Angelou, for example. While one may encounter many defeats, one must not be defeated. I think all of those quotes, I think, are very motivating in terms of pushing through after experiencing failure. Most of us, I find all of us, assuming that we are thinking humans, we do have turbulent times in our lives. We fail at stuff. We fail for all kinds of reasons, And I remind people who say, "Oh my God, I'm failing at this." You and I have our share of those people in our business lives who come to us for advice and all of that. I remind myself, of course, that all successful people fail at things often, and sometimes remarkably repeatedly. You mean you make the same boo-boo twice? Not really 4 times. But the one thing that they have in common, and this is a great lesson for me while we're contemplating this talk, is that what really successful people, ultimately successful people, whether they're big successes, little successes, but successes. What they all have in common is that their failures are never because of lack of effort or convictions. Rather, and this is again a topic we discuss all the time, is something conceptually out of their grasp. They missed something in the homework, or man, there's something about that gig or that relationship you just didn't know and couldn't find out. Entirely out of your grasp. More likely, and this is why you got me, insufficient homework. How much homework can you do? Not enough. And when you're done, do some more. And then you say to yourself what I do. And you folks have to forgive me for this, but in a project where I'm involved, where we get it done well, get it done right, all the components are right, and we launch it, I'm the unhappiest guy in the room. Because I think we could have done better. We could have done more homework. So I think that is a long response to your intro.
Very good, very good, very interesting. I agree completely with all of that. I think failure actually drives us. I think that hating failing, like hating to fail, is a driver, right? Because we're driven psychologically to want to win, right? But we're also driven to not lose. Like we hate losing. Like that's just it's human nature, right? We just hate pain. We hate losing. So we're willing to work really, really hard to avoid failing. But I mean, I've learned the most massive things in my personal life and business life from failing. Yeah, as have many people. But at the end of the day, the successful people are the ones that actually don't give up, right? I mean, Michael Jordan, he just kept practicing, and he probably took, I don't know how many shots he would take, right? But eventually you can't avoid success because your brain just adjusts to what you are attempting to achieve and gives up, and it says, okay, I'll do it. And eventually, all of the time, if you're saying to yourself that you can't do something, that is failing. Yeah. Having that negative mindset is not going to help you to win. So if you are sitting here, you are listening to this, and you're sort of worried that perhaps that's a problem, then you should work on that. And that's something I worked on for quite a long time. I had a negative self-talk in my mind, and I sat down every morning with a piece of paper and a pen, probably for 30 days or 60 days, and I wrote down a thought that was negative, that was just in my brain, and I questioned the thought, and I crossed it out, and I said, this is the evidence that the opposite is true, and that's not true. And because the subconscious brain is the happiest little helper that you will have, and if you don't guide it, it's going to self-sabotage you. And this is one of the most important things that I've actually done as a business person and an individual human. Very important, to be honest.
Without a doubt, it's the reality is it is much easier to fail than it is to succeed. Because if that was not true, then we will all disappear because all of us would be successful and nobody would be doing any work. We'd just be successful. How's that for a concept? By the way, I'd love to try that for a concept sometime. I think that dovetailing into what you said is one of my pillars of success. Sorry for the promotion here, but the most often requested topic I get in speaking and all of that is my pillars of success. One of those I talk about is never consider failure an option. So let's start out with that as a concept. Say, wait a minute. It is a fool's errand. What a dumb idea to start anything with failure on your personal horizon. I'm going to do this, but it probably won't work out. Here's 100 reasons why this is going to fail, and 2 reasons why it's going to work. And one of those is because you really want to. Oh, good. I would love to be 6'7" and dunk a basketball. That's not going to happen either. So just desiring success is really esoteric. But it is brainless to consider defeat, consider failure. You need to consider success. That's what you pursue. You don't pursue the possibility of not failing. You pursue success. So now the next question, of course, is what happens when the thing doesn't work? First of all, not everybody has it in them, their makeup, psychological, whatever the heck it is, to wake up in the morning and create their own action. Today I'm going to do this with that end and I will succeed, rather than most of us go to work for somewhere in a company where we know what we're going to do today. We're going to do project 1 from A to Z, then go to project 2, A to Z. That's not the entrepreneurial spirit. Your failure in that environment is if you don't produce the minimum required by the job. Good. You want to be a minimalist? You want to be obscure? You're not going to fail. You will just somehow float through your life. Obscure, you're not going to accomplish. Yeah, you can satisfy all your needs. Food, shelter, and all that. You're not going to satisfy your wants. You're not going to buy that Lamborghini. Now, not everybody wants a Lamborghini, and without a doubt, nobody actually needs one. But that's not the point. Now, so how do you learn from, okay, I promise you I've had my share of failures. Thankfully, they were not debilitating. In other words, I saw the path to recover. Very important for me in my business life of a few $1 billion has been to quantify my failure and then qualify. Meaning, was this a big deal? Or was this like, oops, there's an oops? Or, oh my God, I need to find a father-in-law to go to work for. There's a difference. Or is this totally debilitating? And the thing about debilitating failures, sometimes it is not you. Another topic that anybody wants to know more about, just reach out to Nathaniel or I. We have a volume work on the cause of failure. It is a relationship that fails, not you. It is a construct, a business contract that fails, not you. It is a regulatory agency that decides that you and I shouldn't be doing this anymore. We did nothing wrong. We are the recipients of bad juju. So sometimes your failure, you can look at yourself honestly in the mirror at 2 a.m. when it's really quiet, and you can be honest with yourself. What did I do to fail at this? Hey, it's just the way it worked out. Now, then we go and qualify that. What does this mean to me? You know what? I need to get a job. I'd love to drive a large truck. Nobody makes turns in front of me. I drive 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. I get a decent salary because I cannot try anything else. No, qualify what that failure meant to you. What did I miss? What did I do wrong? And at some point you come up with an answer. I should have done that, should have done that, should have done that. Good. Wake up in the morning, forge ahead courageously, and do it again. And then when you get to that crossroads, you say, whoa, give yourself a whack in the back of the head. Say, no, I've done that before. Not going to do it this time. Move on. Forge ahead courageously and mildly. Success is, you hear this, well, success is right around the corner. I love fortune cookies. Of all the Chinese restaurants I've eaten around the world, fortune cookies, I say one, which says, good luck and success are just around the corner. I have that framed in large frame, and a board behind it says, what corner and when? But they are around the corner, not if you're not looking, not if you're not ready. I think first you quantify your failure. Can you overcome it? How? And then you qualify it. So what really happened? And sometimes you say things, you say that dumbest manningism around. Sometimes things that don't make sense just don't make sense. What does that mean? There's stuff out there you just don't know.
Absolutely. Very profound. What you just said is very profound. I've been giving a lot of thought to failure over the years. And also, I don't think you should take other people's failures as your own. I mean, if you look at Blockbuster, and you look at how that was destroyed, right? It actually was Mr. Antioch, who was the CEO of Blockbuster, grew a fantastic business. Okay, he was an ex 7-Eleven director, super intelligent guy. The reason that business went out of business was actually not his fault. It was actually a rogue shareholder within that business that basically kiboshed everything that he wanted to do, and they didn't react quickly enough. And unfortunately, in business, this is what happens. And so, in my personal opinion, I think you can take these failures as your own failure, but actually, it's not your failure. It's a failure to know all the information, and sometimes, like you say, things just don't make sense. And this is just what happens, right? So that's why we need to actually step back a bit, and we need to look for success. We need to celebrate our successes, and we need to look for those every day. We need to look at the success. And you say this, about learning new things every day. And personally, I like to actually learn from other people's failures now. I said this a bit earlier on this talk, and that for me, I find much safer than actually making massive mistakes. I mean, I think if you are failing, then just pray it's going to be over quick, right? I mean, that's, because at least when it's over, you can hit rock bottom and then you can pick yourself up and you can move forwards. You might be in the wrong job. You might be in the wrong role. You might not be using the right skills. You might have other interests that are taking your attention. And these things will steer your career journey. And this is very important, because you will also self-sabotage whatever it is that you're doing, because actually in your soul, deep in your soul, you don't want to do what you're doing sometimes. And so you will self-sabotage, and then you might end up eventually in an amazing job, in an amazing business that you may start, or whatever it might be, because you sabotaged yourself and created that failure. So failure is not the finale, which is what one of these amazing coaches, who's a personal friend of mine, says. And failure is not the finale; it's actually the pivot. And that's the point. Is when you have a failure that could be in your career, you need to pivot and do something else, or like you say, take a piece of paper and a pen, or whatever. Use your computer to make a list of all the things that went wrong, why they went wrong, what you could have done, etc. And then that gives you insight, doesn't it, for the future, really? But I mean, I think you've been fantastically generous with your time, Stephen. And if anyone wants to check out our expert talks, we've got masses of those that we're recording, and we have recorded. And also, Stephen J. Manning's got a great book that is available. So do check out and have a look for that somewhere, and see if you can find that. And do message us if there's anything that you'd like to talk about.
Thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe, and wherever you prefer, share with your friends. And if you enjoyed the show, drop us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen.